Hello, everyone, and welcome into FCC Talk. I'm your host, John Rose, the Children and Family Minister here at First Christian Church, and today I am joined by CJ Mustin, the Student Minister here at First Christian Church, and we are excited to bring you another episode, keeping you informed in things going on around, America, the world, whatever it is, with Christian news, and trying to talk to you all about it. CJ, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, John?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, yep, we are recording this on Thursday. So, we are going to talk a little bit about the Hurricane Helene thing and stuff like that. But if you guys, are listening to this maybe on Saturday or Sunday and it doesn't sound super up to date, just know that's why. We really don't have every single detail right now, but we are going to talk about that in this episode. Additionally, with that, we're also going to be talking about a number of other subjects. Just, you know how it goes. The news, and we stay away from politics and stuff like that. This isn't a sermon. This isn't us trying to tell you, exactly how to live and stuff like that. It's just us having honest conversations about things going on and giving our reactions and our comments to everything that's happening with the Christian news and stuff like that in mind. So, without further ado, CJ, I think we just go ahead and get into the first subject, which is that Texas on Mission is ready to respond to Hurricane Milton as we speak. Now, this article was written, I believe, Tuesday, and so this was, obviously before Hurricane Milton hit, or Helene. Which one? Which one's the one that
I
just hit? And I get them all mixed
think
up.
it's
Which one?
Milton. I
Milton.
think
Okay.
it's Milton.
I thought it was too, and I was like, but sounds like the other one. I apologize. I'm getting all of them mixed up. So they were getting ready and talking about everything that's going on. I'm sure there will be updates as things happen, but basically this mission coming out of Texas, it is volunteers actively responding to multiple hurricanes, recently aiding communities devastated by Francine, Helene, and Milton. A long-established Christian disaster relief group has been providing chainsaw and flood recovery and mass feeding services across the affected states, with equipment and teams dispatched of anticipation for Hurricane Milton's impact in Florida. Helene left a trail of almost unbelievable destruction, the disaster relief director David Wells remarked, likening the damage to a Hurricane Katrina-like event and noting that the volunteers strive to bring hope and serve as reminders of God's love. David Wells encouraged more participation, stating everyone has a role in God's kingdom as Texas on Mission and other groups prepare for a sustained relief effort supported by the emerging On Mission network for coordination and resources. I apologize. CJ, Dan, and I talked a little bit about churches and things like that, stepping up and helping out with hurricane relief and those things last week. But this is obviously an effort that is given from one group in particular that is states away, trying to do as much as they can in as many different areas as they can as well. Can you just talk about how important it is for churches and missions, and for churches to support missions like this that's taking it upon themselves to help these hurricane victims?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really cool thing when churches and this organization is multiple churches coming together and using their resources and pooling them and people to bring volunteers to help. I think that is such an awesome thing. I think it's absolutely incredible to see people practically be the hands and the feet and use their gifts, even with the chainsaw for kingdom work, to go and just help people. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, when I saw the chainsaw thing at first, it didn't really explain in the article what, chainsaw recovery was. I was like, "What in the world is that?" It does later on go into explaining a little bit that the chainsaw recovery is going around and, trees that have fallen down and limbs that have fallen on things. They essentially go around and cut up those trees and cut up everything that has fallen on stuff with their chainsaws, so that way things are out of the way. It's something that you might not think of first thing that needs to happen with some of these relief efforts, but it's definitely something that needs to be done. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, CJ, I'm driving around in a country road out here in Brazil or someplace else, and if there's a tree down, there's nothing you can do if it's in the road, like,
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so them going around and doing that to clear roadways, get trees and limbs off of, whatever it is, houses,
Power
cars. It just
lines. Yep.
Yeah, power lines. It just goes to show that, if you have the heart to help, you can find
Mhm,
something to do. And that's the
mhm,
thing that I love most about what this Texas on Mission is doing is they are trying to give a way for everybody to help those who are in need right now. You might feel like, oh, I'm just over in Indiana, there's nothing I can do, or I'm over in Texas, there's nothing I can do. I'm up in Montana, there's nothing I can do. Well, at the end of the day, there is always something we can do. If nothing else, we can pray, we can give. If we're there, we can serve. Be the hands and feet, stuff like that. I mean, CJ, the article mentions that there's roles everybody can do. Mentions those specifically that I just mentioned. Is there anything else you can think of that Christians can do to help right now?
Well, I think, yeah, finding trustworthy organizations to give to, is really big. And then, as you might have even people that are coming into the area that just need to get out and, living with family members or friends for just a little bit. Being aware of new people and showing them love in practical ways, I think, is huge right now as they're going through some difficult times. So that would be one thing that I would suggest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's going to be people traveling all different kinds of places today and, in the weeks to come, trying to, find shelter and find some place. And if it's somebody who's traveling up to your area, which, honestly, there are so many people traveling, it might happen more often than you think, just being somebody that is accepting and loving and, helpful as they're here. That's an important thing to do. So I love that you mentioned
Mhm.
that, CJ. That's awesome. We are going to move on to our next story now. It's about Russell Brand. Russell Brand, the star, he continues. So if you don't know, Russell Brand has recently made the decision to follow Christ, and he has given his life to I don't know if he's given his life to full time ministry, but he's definitely going out and ministering to many people. It might not be the most traditional form, but he's doing that. And Russell Brand recently baptized someone again, and this time he was wearing swimwear instead of his typical underwear. It's kind of a weird story, but this underwear that he was wearing sparked a lot of backlash on his Instagram posts. Critics questioned his attire during his baptism, with one commenter asking, "Am I the only one wondering why this guy getting baptized is in his surf gear and the two baptizing them are in their literal underwear?" Brand responded to the criticism on social media, acknowledging that it might have looked a bit immodest, but clarifying it wasn't planned, saying, "Some of my mates took photos for their friends, actually, even was getting baptized." Bobby Houston, wife of former Hillsong pastor Brian Houston, defended Brand, saying, "I personally love the innocence here." She added, "Ignore them. You are full of Jesus, hungry, curious, asking questions." In a recent post, Brand shared another baptism photo, captioning it humorously, "By his grace, we'll soon be doing them in the Jordan Canal in skin shorts." CJ, a bit of just an interesting story here with Russell Brand trying to go out and minister, but other people taking some notice with maybe his immodest attire and stuff like that. CJ, what's your thoughts on if someone should wear what someone should wear when they baptize someone?
I don't think it matters. Man, I think that there are bigger issues than what people are wearing when they get baptized. I mean, this is a big deal, and he is going out and changing lives and drawing people into Christ. And if the biggest thing that we can say is look at what he's wearing, then we've totally missed the boat. Now, that being said, I think there are situations where we need to be uh, aware of what we're wearing. Like, if you have time to prepare and you're doing it on a Sunday morning, I mean, a minister probably shouldn't show up in their underwear, um, but I mean, like, this sounds to me like, he was hanging out and on the beach, and his friend was like, "Hey, I want to get baptized right now." He's like, "All right, let's do it," and you know, take your clothes off and and baptize someone.
Get in the
It's
water. Let's
awesome.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it right now. And David danced before God in his underwear. And so I mean, like, let's not focus on the small things. Let's focus on what really matters is my personal opinion. What do you think, John? What was your first initial thought when you saw this?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't follow Russell Brand super closely. I'm aware of who he is, but I've always known him to kind of be a bit of a spontaneous, kind of crazy guy and stuff like that. And knowing that, he's recently new to faith, obviously, I'm somebody that, I don't hold a whole lot of, traditional expectations on people who are new to faith because they're passionate and they're hungry and they just want to do good. And I think that, when you look at their heart and you realize this is somebody that just wants to do good, they just want to baptize their friend, they just want to go out and spread the message of Jesus. They're on fire for God. I look at it and I say, like you did, it's like this is probably a situation where his buddy just wanted to get baptized and he said, "Let's go do it." And he
Yeah,
and he saw the change that it's had on his life, and that's what he wants for his friend more than anything else. And so I'm like you, he probably didn't even think twice. He's like, all right, let's, we don't want to get our get all of our clothes wet, so let's,
right,
get on down to our underwear or swimwear, whatever it is, and
right.
get in the pool and baptize them. I'm with you. I mean, there's definitely an aspect of like on Sunday morning, me, you, and Chris, we're not ever gonna just like get down in our underwear and get in the baptistry and baptize
Right.
somebody. But there definitely is an aspect of professionalism and stuff like that. It's certainly in those situations. I just think you have to know what the situation is, right?
Mhm.
If you know that somebody is new to the faith and they're baptizing somebody and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't think God really cares what you're wearing. I mean, he just wants somebody to be baptized. He just wants them to come to him and accept him and follow him. And so at the end of the day, is there stuff that's appropriate and inappropriate? Of course. Of course there's inappropriate things that can be done if we know better and stuff, but at the end of the day, I looked at this post. I mean, I actually saw it on Instagram when I was scrolling one day, and my first thought was like, "This is awesome."
Right.
Russell Brand's out here, and then I read this later on when I found out because I don't normally go through the comment section, but this is the post that I read later on that said like, oh, people were upset, and I was like, why are people upset with Russell Brand? you know,
Yeah.
Baptizing his friends. So it is a little interesting to think about. When I was on social media, I didn't even think twice about criticizing or anything like that. I
Mhm.
just looked at it and said, "This is awesome." And some people might call me naive for that. Whatever. I get so overjoyed by seeing somebody get baptized and come to Christ that I'm just thankful
Mhm.
for that. So I guess CJ, we've talked a lot about social media on here and how people should react and respond and stuff like that. I guess my question for you is how should Christians handle it if they believe, maybe not exactly this situation, but maybe a situation where they believe someone needs to be corrected on social media? How should they react in that situation? Or maybe they think I have more questions about this, and so I want to try and give guidance. Should they go in the comment section? What to you is kind of the correct approach here?
I think it gets that's a really tough question. My initial response when I saw that question on the sheet for today was just don't. Like there's so much drama on social media, like we need to be spreading love. And then the more that I thought about it, I thought, there are times when correction needs to happen. Like, you see someone being bullied on social media, like you go to the aid of that person, and you build them up. That's a form of correction. And so as I really thought about this, and I talked with my wife a little bit about this, I thought, man, I think that if you are sticking up for someone that you know and you have a relationship with, and you are continuing to use this as an opportunity to pour Christ's love into someone that you already know, by all means, do that. Do that tactfully. Do that in a way where you are loving someone, and not tearing another person down. And I'm gonna take a slight tangent here. Um, there was a video that came out about how to, uh, I guess, help someone that is just being screamed and yelled at and berated publicly. And they said the best thing that you can do is not even talk to the person that is angry and screaming and yelling and doing whatever. The best thing that you can do is go and stand next to the person that is being yelled at and start talking to them and showing them some love and just kind of distracting them from what is being said and what is happening. And I think we can do that online. We can go to the aid of the person that is being um, attacked. Now, I think far too often online we find situations like this Russell Brand situations where it's something we just don't necessarily agree with, and so we get on our high horse and we start blasting out on social media against people that we don't know personally, we have no relationship with, we just blast, and I think that is over the line and inappropriate. And so I think you gotta, again, gauge the situation. I think there is a time for correction, but I think that correction comes in the form of supporting another person and sticking up for them. And that is in a relationship of showing Christ's love to another person. So, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts, John? I know I kind of rambled there for a little bit.
No, I think that was good. I think that it is a really tough question, especially when you don't know exactly what situation you're trying to maybe correct here. I agree with you. If somebody is, being bullied, or somebody is taking, maybe criticism from somebody else in that situation, you don't want to go in there and just like start fighting with the other person. That's not good
Exactly.
for you or for them. I find it best that if I know somebody is going through something difficult online for whatever reason that might be, I mean, there could be a myriad of reasons, but for whatever reason, if they're going through something difficult online, if I personally know them, I'm sending them a private message, I'm sending them a text, or I'm calling them and making sure they're okay personally outside of the realm of social media, just because I feel like that means something different than, just commenting and saying like, hope you're okay. Not saying that doesn't mean anything, but I feel like it means something a little bit more. At least it would to me if I'm going through something and I had, you text me and say, hey man, I saw this, you doing okay? Something like
Mhm,
that. If this is a situation where I see somebody is, posting something that's untrue, or maybe posting something that I find, inappropriate, say this, Russell Brand situation, then if I know the person, I'm probably going to talk to them later on about it in person. I'm not going to make a point to like call them right away. I'm not going to make a point to like text them. I'm probably going to try and find a time where I can talk with this person and just say, "Hey, can you explain to me what's going on here?" Have a conversation about it. Not go into it trying to correct them right away, but trying first to understand what's going on, because I genuinely believe that if most people who were in the comment section here with Russell Brand, if they were just to talk to him and hear out his heart, I think most of them would say, "Okay, we understand, where you're coming from. Might still not like, you posting that, but we understand where you're coming from and we get where your heart is at."
mhm,
And I think that when we are willing to listen and sit down and hear out people's hearts, we find a lot more compassion and a lot more understanding for people than when we just see a picture and maybe a small little
mhm,
caption with it, type of thing. So, and if it's somebody I have no idea who they are, if it's somebody that, it's a celebrity or something like that, more often than not, I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to try to
mhm,
do anything. I'm not going to try to say anything. I might bring it up with a friend later on and ask them what they thought or something. But at the end of the day, I think, if you don't know somebody in person, it's really, really difficult to have an impact on their
mhm.
life, and who
Exactly.
they are and stuff like that, unless you know them personally. It's a great thing that we are connected as we are with social media, but I don't know Russell Brand. I've never met Russell Brand. Me going on there and commenting, saying something, I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying I would, but if I were to do that, you know, he has no idea who I am. It's not gonna help anything. It's just gonna cause more
Mhm,
ruckus. So,
mhm.
that's the way I look at it.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Good stuff there, CJ. Appreciate you. commenting on that. Our final subject, CJ, this is actually probably the one that I find the most interesting. The first one was serious. That second one was a little funny, but this one, Rick Warren was at the Lasana 4. It's a conference out in South Korea, and he was speaking to church leaders out there, and he urged Christians to re-evangelize nominal believers to fully realize the Great Commission, warning that many Christians have traded spiritual power for political influence. Emphasizing unity as essential for evangelism, Warren noted the purpose of unity is not for unity's sake. The purpose of unity is for evangelism, and called for collaborative efforts among denominations, as nobody's ever going to be able to do it on their own. Warren challenged the lack of urgency around Jesus' return, arguing if you really thought that Jesus could come back in your lifetime, you would be collaborating with everybody, urging a revival of urgency akin to that of the early church. He highlighted that fulfilling the Great Commission also involves living out Jesus' model, building trust and genuine friendships to share faith with which he summarized as creating a bridge of love between your heart and theirs, and then Jesus walks across. Obviously, I didn't hear Rick speak word for word. This was something that I couldn't find a video on, but this was really, really interesting to hear him say and him talk about, and kind of an interesting thought and re-evangelizing. But CJ, first I want to start with, Rick's statement. His full quote that kind of got to me was, Christians are great at fellowshipping and networking, but they're terrible at collaboration and unity. Do you tend to agree with that statement? What's your thoughts, CJ?
Yeah, I think that we are not great at unity and collaboration. Um, I think that's something that we desperately need to work on. And I mean, you just look at the history of the church; it's division after division after division, and Jesus, he wants us unified. He wants us to be one body so that we can reach the world with his love. So, yeah, I don't think we're super great at it. What are your thoughts, John?
Yeah, I think, unity and collaboration is a difficult thing when you have so many people who have such strong beliefs in certain areas. And I'm thankful that we have people who have very strong beliefs. I think that, that means that people are passionate. That means that people have studied, and people have I don't want to say have their mind made up, but they have thought about things enough. However, I'm with you where it does seem like to me collaboration and unity is something that's been difficult for Christians, not just now, but for some time now, with denominations and churches splitting up. I mean, I worked at a church in Virginia that the senior minister, he was the senior minister at another church, and when he left, he decided to take some people with him and start his own
Oh,
church
wow.
instead. And it was a little bit of an interesting dynamic learning about that, and how that worked, and how he was mistreated and then moved on and stuff. I'm not going to get too much into it, but it was just a really interesting thing to think about, because I don't know if I could ever do that. I don't know if I could ever say, oh, I was mistreated, so now I'm going to go off and start my own church with the people that were there that enjoyed my preaching or whatever. I don't think I could personally do that. However, he did, and he had a church that he was able to build, that God had blessed and had done a lot of great things for the community. So I think that God oftentimes works in spite of our disunity and in spite of our lack of collaboration, which I think is a beautiful thing. But I'm with Rick here, where I say, we can still be better at it, and imagine how much more God could do if we were better at it. If we would get better at those kind of things. But I also look at it and say, the world's not all that good at unity and collaboration either. So it's
Mhm.
not anything that is, super specific to Christians, as you are bad at this, but we still don't want to be having the same issues and the same struggles as the world. So I'm not using it as an
Yep.
excuse. I'm just saying, it's something that many, many people struggle with, not just Christians.
Uh-huh.
Um, Later on, Rick also went on to comment about saying that part of fulfilling the Great Commission is re-evangelizing the church today, which I found very striking
Mm.
for him to say. Not that I necessarily disagreed with it, but it just was very thought provoking for me, and I still am trying to think through it a little bit. CJ, do you think that Rick is correct in saying that part of fulfilling the Great Commission is re-evangelizing the church today? He's talking primarily about America. He is over in South Korea, but he's talking primarily about America.
Mm. Yeah, I tend to think that if as I read the article, he went on to say that if the nominal Christians, the people that believe in Jesus, but aren't necessarily uh, like super on fire,
Mhm.
if they would get on fire, it would change the world. And yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think there are a lot of people that believe in Jesus in word, just like um, anything else. Like I could say, yeah, I'm a Colts fan, which, if I had to pick a football team, I would say I'm a Colts fan. I've not watched a Colts game in like 8 years, and I have no idea. I couldn't tell you what the record is this year. Um, so, and I think there are a lot of people that would say, "Yeah, I'm a Jesus follower," but they live that same way. Like, they're not really sure how to live a life that is really a Jesus follower. Like, I'm not really sure how to be a Colts fan at this point. Like, um, and so if we could get them to really catch fire for who Jesus is and what he's about, and um, you know, living the life of love that he led toward other people, man, I think it would change everything. So yeah, I tend to agree with Rick. Um, I think it would be a great thing to really see a revival and see a movement across America. What do you think, John?
Yeah, no, I agree with Rick for the most part as well. The idea of re-evangelizing, I do wonder, if he is just talking about, getting people more on fire. That is what kind of the article stemmed on. But I was, thinking about like, is he also saying that there's people that need to be resaved and stuff like that? I don't subscribe to that theory that if somebody has been rebaptized, they have to get rebaptized, stuff like that. And that was kind of where my mind
Got
went at
you.
first when I first read that phrase. And that's why it kind of provoked so much thought. But then as I read more, I kind of got the same that you did with like getting people to kind of reignite their faith or to ignite their faith in such a way that they are more passionate for God. I definitely agree with that premise of it, that if everybody was as on fire for God as those who were the most on fire for him, we would see crazy amazing things happen in this world. We would see crazy amazing things happening in America. We would see just completely ridiculous love. We would see completely crazy generosity. I mean, our world would be such a better place if everyone was totally and completely on fire for God. Now, part of that is a little bit of wishful thinking because in scripture, we are told that, there are temptations and that people are imperfect and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, God is so big and God is so crazy, has such crazy love that, nothing is impossible with him. So even though it might seem unattainable because of everything that goes on in our world, I think it's something we have to strive for, because we know how great and how big God is. And so even if it looks like, oh, well, the church could never, become that passionate, the church can never become that big. Let's look at what was the early church like? How crazy
Mhm.
passionate, how maybe they weren't the most people in the world, but they were crazy passionate about God and spreading the message of Jesus Christ. And that's really how we saw, a group of people just go out and change the world. That's how we have so many churches today in our world. God had a group of people that were on fire and passionate for him, and he used those people, and God did some great things. So if we could get back to that, I'm all for it. I think that'd be perfect.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, CJ, I think that's a show for today. Anything going on in the youth ministry or the student ministry you want to tell people about before we get out of here?
We just had our Games of Fall monthly event, which is an awesome just night of games centered around pumpkins and craziness and just a ton of fun. Our next event is the Student Ministry Hayride, and so we're excited for that. The first weekend in November. But outside of that, we've got open gym and worship on Coil on Sunday nights. We'd love for students to jump in on that if they're not a part of it already. If you're interested in providing food, we'd love for you to touch base with me, and I can put you in touch with the person that leads that part. And man, we're just having a great school year so far. Things are going well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely a lot of fun fall stuff going on. Fall games. We got Country Day coming up. Your hayride, and then we got early November Christmas time with Operation Christmas Child's packing party. In early
Hmm.
November, which is always funny to me that we kind of get this interruption of fall where it's like, bam, here we go, Christmas right away
Yep.
before
Yep.
Thanksgiving even happens. So I always think that's funny. So, all right, everybody, we definitely appreciate you listening. We definitely appreciate CJ coming here and sharing his thoughts on different things going on as well. We will be back again next Thursday night with another FCC talk. Not sure if it'll be well, I know it won't be Chris, so it'll probably be Dan. If Dan can't do it, I'll try to find somebody else. You might get CJ again. Who knows?
Woohoo.
But we'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.